And welcome to another episode of Rock City Central. I know I say this all the time, but I got a really special guest. I even got some special surprises that we're going to pull out today, which I haven't done yet. So yeah, it's a very special guest. Miss Burlington, and this is for International 2021, and this is Miss Sarah May Campbell. Yes, Sarah May Campbell, the world. Say hello.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, well, no, I see that is for Mrs. New Jersey, which is Burlington, but last year you were in Philadelphia.
I was. That is correct.
You're taking over the whole world. Is that it?
So when you work full-time, which I am a Philadelphia educator, so when you work full-time in a certain location, you can also compete in that state.
So you don't have to be a resident.
No, you have to work either full-time or live full-time. So there's some options there.
So is it true that you're moving to Virginia just to teach, to become Miss Virginia 2021, and then you're going to come back and
maybe you never know.
You never know. And then there's Florida, and you got the Carolinas.
Maybe you never know.
You never know.
All over the place.
So the greatest thing about this is that I get to interview beautiful women who have amazing platforms. I mean, they do amazing things for the community and for the people. And what's even great is that the women in your community, which is Mrs. International 2021, they all help each other out.
They do.
So it's very often I'm seeing you post with other people, and like Giannina came in and she posts with other people. So it's like a whole family and a whole community, right?
It really is. I think so many times, often people ask me why I compete in pageantry, and I just was speaking to my mom about this in the car ride, is the women you meet in pageantry are just absolutely amazing, and you develop such an amazing sisterhood with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in the hospital this past September, and women that I've known most of my life, some of them reached out, some of them didn't. However, women that I met in a 48-hour pageant weekend were creating a meal train for me, were sending me cards, and were just reaching out to me. So it's just this bond you instantly have, and it's just something that a place where you're able to develop amazing relationships.
I agree, because many people just think it's a pageantry where, I don't know, it's just beautiful women, they get to pose and all that other stuff, but it's so much more content than that.
So much, yes.
And what you are doing and what all the women are doing is amazing. It's great because now you have a platform.
Yes.
And it's also, as Mary said, it's an introduction. Hey, I'm a beautiful woman, and I got this great platform I want to tell you about.
Right.
So it's excellent there. But I've learned so much about you, and all you do is give, which is great. And a lot of these women are just giving, and you're just exceptional at that.
Oh, thank you.
So I don't want to ruin the surprise yet, but we'll get there. So I did see that you were Miss Philadelphia, and it makes sense. You were a school teacher, Miss Philadelphia. And who won that by any chance? You know?
Yes, my wonderful friend, Kristen Orndorff won. She's beautiful. She did awesome. She was 4th runner-up at the Mrs. International pageant.
Wow.
She's gorgeous. So hi, Kristen. Love you.
Wow.
Another one, we just clicked all weekend. We were like twins all weekend. We had the same shoes, we had the same outfits, and she's just absolutely wonderful. And I do feel bad that unfortunately she had to hold a title in a year that was just very unpredictable, but she's also a teacher, and she's just absolutely fabulous, and I'm very happy for her that she was able to win the crown.
That's awesome. And it's the whole camaraderie of everybody just rooting for each other, right? That's
absolutely
really important.
That's pageantry.
So before we get into your platform and stuff, a little bit about you. So I know that you're a teacher.
I am a teacher.
First grade.
So I teach for the School District of Philadelphia. This is my 9th year teaching.
Wow.
I was a cyber school teacher before this for 5 years for Commonwealth Connections Academy. So actually switching very quickly to virtual learning was something that was a little easy for me because I taught behind a computer screen for a couple of years before this. I am a wife of almost, now we've been together going on 15 years.
Did you name him Mr. Burlington?
I call him Mr. Burlington. Yeah. I don't know if he's excited about
and
it,
we also
have
Mr. Orange County or Ocean County. I'm waiting for Mr. Marlboro.
He's been Mr. Philadelphia. He's now Mr. Burlington County. We're hoping he'll be Mr. New Jersey,
Wow.
Whatever, but he's very supportive. We have a wonderful, beautiful daughter.
Marin Joy
Campbell. She's 6 years old.
And also a first grader.
She is. So actually it was very funny. I was interviewed on the news earlier this year on Fox 29
I
Philly.
saw that, yep.
Because they were interested in getting a teacher's perspective on virtual learning and how you can be successful at home. So that's been easy for myself and for my daughter because we're very just routine people, and I know what she needs in order to be successful learning at home. So it's been easy for us. And when I say easy, I mean it was easy to adapt to, although it's also been a challenge because she has a different schedule. She's in a different district. You know, I'm in Philadelphia. So just for us to balance throughout the day, getting both our assignments done, if she has a struggle when she's online and I'm teaching in the middle. But, you know, I mean, my students are amazing. I'll say, sorry, Mrs. Campbell has to help Marin real quick, and I'll help Marin, you know, but yeah, you know, she's amazing. My daughter amazes me absolutely every day. She's just somebody that really brought a lot of joy into our family.
Do you want to know how I knew that you are a very passionate teacher about giving and making sure that this is great. So on March the 17th, 2020, do you remember that day? That was the day that the schools were closed, and coincidentally, you started a YouTube account.
Yes.
Coincidentally.
I did.
And you started posting all these things. In fact, Miss Philadelphia, we didn't get this in Jersey, but Miss Philadelphia read a book.
I did.
And you did. But you did do all these. I was learning a lot.
Oh, good. You were learning fun.
I was. But the strange thing is when I'm watching this, there was all I saw first was this purple finger that was tapping this board, right? And then I see, oh my God, I felt like a Van Halen video, like Hot for Teacher. I'm like, I want to be in the first grade. And we'll get back to the classic rock stuff. But yeah, so then you did all these phonics and you taught so well. And you could see you connect so well.
Yeah, the students, I mean, I really wanted to do something. I felt so bad. It was just overnight. And I remember walking into my classroom. I was helping to distribute Chromebooks, you know, when this all started at our school. And I remember just walking into my classroom and just instantly, I just felt sad. I mean, you develop, it's a family. I mean, I feel like a mom to my students, you know, and last year we were having so much fun, and to walk into my room and see everything just on Friday, March 13th, everything just stopped. And it was really hard. It was hard because I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye to my students last year, you know, and even this year, the kids are just so amazing. And, you know, you can just say like, Mrs. Campbell, I wish, you know, I could give you a hug. And, you know, it's just that type of, you know, relationship you develop with these children. So it's been tough, but I'm looking forward to when we can go back into the classroom.
And you love reading books, you said.
I do love reading books.
So I have something for Marin Joy. Aww. And this is a fun fact about me that I don't think anybody knows. And I'm going to give it to you here. This is a children's book I wrote.
Sweet. Oh my gosh.
Myself. And I never talk about myself, but I'm giving this to you to give it to your daughter.
Thank you so much.
It's called A Watermelon Grows in Brooklyn.
Oh, that's awesome. She loves reading, so she will be so appreciative.
And that's for the first graders, for sure.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm a huge book fan. Anything that, you know, supports literacy and reading, so thank you. I appreciate this so much.
That's a book about me and my dad.
Oh, I love
and
it.
when I was in Brooklyn, you know, you're not a Brooklyn person. You haven't gotten that crown yet.
No, I do love New York.
Oh, okay.
No, but I love New York. I've always been an NYC
so
city girl.
The old days in Brooklyn, you'd have these block parties. And these block parties, you'd shut down the block, get police permits, shut down the blocks, and have DJs. And it was like the fire department would come. It was amazing.
That sounds amazing.
So one day I said, Dad, I want to grow a watermelon for the block party. But it was like June, and for a watermelon, it would have been like 2 months. But that takes like a year, right? So I plant this seed by my garage, and the seed just grows. And for 2 months, it must have grown about 50 feet. I swear to God, 50 feet. I'm like, Dad, I don't even see the little baby watermelon. He goes, Mike, don't worry, it's going to grow. I bet you the day you wake up for this block party, there's going to be a 13-pound watermelon. And that vine grew around my entire garden. And
my gosh.
It was like a Jack and the Beanstalk, right?
That's awesome.
So one day, the day of my block party, I wake up and there is glued, I didn't even know this, glued to my watermelon was a giant 13-pound watermelon.
Aww.
And I didn't find out that watermelons don't really grow like that until my mid-20s. Sarah, I swear to God.
Well, you're informing me of that as well, so don't feel so bad because I wasn't sure.
You feel good. So now I feel comfortable. But yeah, so that story stayed with me, and I always promised I would honor my dad.
Oh, well,
and
thank you.
That's
awesome.
My dad and I. So it's all pictured. I did that. So you can find it on Amazon, but I wanted to make sure you get a hardcover copy.
Thank you. Oh
Read
my
it
gosh,
to
that's wonderful. That's awesome. I'm so excited to read it.
Well, thank you so much. But so more about you. So you're a teacher in Philadelphia, and you just did something really big. You did something with support SACs.
Yes, I did.
Could you tell me about that? Because that's
Absolutely.
not even your platform.
No.
That's what I'm talking about. You're a giver, you're a giver, you're a giver.
No, I mean, really, so, you know, I love volunteering. I love helping, you know, and just with everything that's been going on, as soon as I saw what Mary and Kim were doing, I just knew I had to be a part of it.
Oh, wait, this is something Mary and Kim did.
Absolutely.
And you contributed to that.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're amazing directors. I love them so
Wow.
dearly. So when I saw that, instantly I wanted to support. So it started really, I wanted to just get the sack offline. So I went onto Amazon and I couldn't find an individual one. So I ended up, just getting a 12 pack, and I said, okay. And then I thought, you know what? Let's just try to make it a goal to fill these sacks, you know? So I kind of created a fun little game on Instagram, and I mean, people just amaze me. Within 5 hours, it was filled. I woke up the next morning and I had money in my Venmo account.
How did you get that?
I just reached out. I said, I'm trying to set a goal. I have these extra sacks. I've filled 2 of them, and I put, here's who has. I think we had 8 left at the time. I mean, a woman from my church, offered, and then I had another girl that I used to work with. It's just amazing to see that even though we're in, I guess, somewhat tough times, right? In the middle of a pandemic, some people are, have lost their jobs. Money has been tight. To just see people offer and honored to be so giving and say, hey, here, oh my gosh, I'll do a sack. And one of my pageant sisters, who I won't name, she's fabulous. I woke up the next morning and I said, she goes, well, how much is one sack? And I said, well, I think anywhere from like $15 to $20. We can get a lot of, the necessities. And I wake up and she said, here's $100. Go fill as much as you can. And it just blew my mind. And I got so excited. After work, I drove to the dollar store. I got so many amazing things. I went home, filled the sacks, and now I want to kind of do it again, because I'm like, well, if we could fill 12 this easily.
You did 24, I think.
I have 12 right
12.
now. Yeah. So that's my goal now. It's like, well, if I order them again, if I keep getting the sacks, can we, because I love to always challenge myself a little bit. I love to do that. So yeah.
But March 5th is the last day, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. So that was where we kind of hit a little bit of a barrier, is knowing that, we had to get the ones that I already have situated. We have to get those delivered.
So I have a little challenge. Maybe you can help me out with.
Sure.
So I look at this list. So you didn't post the list, by the way. I had to find out what sacks was about. I read about it. Okay. Then I go on the website. Then there's a whole laundry list. Then I put it in my iPhone. I'm like, this is like a flipping scavenger hunt.
It is.
Right?
It is. Yeah,
I swear to God. So here I am. I go out and I don't have the bag, but I fill this ginormous bag.
Oh my gosh.
And I had to squeeze little,
look at
Olaf, the
Olaf.
stuffed
I love
animal.
it.
But everything you could possibly have is here.
amazing.
And there was one thing it says, this is pretty heavy. Maybe you could fill a couple of, things.
Yeah,
with this.
no, thank
so I just
you.
kept putting in, putting in.
That's amazing.
But there's a couple of things. First, I got a Rock Out Loud journal book. So they can
look at that.
do the
Yes.
little
Yeah, I gave journals to the girl.
Yes,
to
I
the
saw
women.
that.
Yeah.
And even little notes. I didn't write a note. You're
That's okay.
one step ahead
That's
of me.
okay. I'm a teacher. I like to doodle.
That's
so.
cool. And then this is my favorite book of all time. You said like a self-help type of book.
Yeah, absolutely.
This book is the life changer.
That's awesome.
I would highly recommend it. It's called The Traveler's Gift.
Okay.
So if that person lucky enough to get The Traveler's Gift, maybe it'll turn them around
Yeah,
too.
well, that's really what it is.
I'll put this over here. This is so
Thank you. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. When you're going through a tough time, I just think that support is the littlest thing that someone might find really silly. Someone who's going through a tough time might think the world of.
Like Olaf.
Yeah, right. I mean, when I was in the hospital in September, a girl that I, went to high school with, we keep in contact, but we don't, hang out frequently. She delivered something to my room, and I just remember thinking, oh my goodness, like it just made my entire day, that someone was thinking about me. So, I'm hopeful that these women who are going through what's going to be a challenging and difficult time, it just brings some comfort to them, knowing that there's people out there rooting for them, and that we wish them well.
That's such a beautiful thing. The fact that you just keep contributing. And now you said you like challenging yourself, and you probably do more.
Right.
If I see the post, I'll just contribute.
Well, thank you.
And by the way, you never ask a man to go looking for that laundry list. That scavenger hunt was makeup.
Yeah.
I went and I'm looking for conditioner, body spray. I couldn't find. If you told me the dollar store, I probably would have went. So I'm shopping around for all this female stuff, and they're looking at me like I'm a little weird.
Well, hey, you're being helpful.
I got fake eyelashes too.
I love it. Fake eyelashes are my best friend.
I got that too. Lip balm. All that stuff.
They're hitting the jackpot with your bag.
With my bag they are. And I couldn't find a drawstring. It's heavy enough so the backpack
I'm pretty
will
sure
work.
they'll be happy with that.
That's great.
So that's okay.
And before we get onto the platform, there was one thing I must say was really cool about you. You found rock and roll, Rolling Stones, and then you take your parents, or you give them tickets to see the Eagles in Madison Square Garden.
I am a huge
Mary, are you an
classic
Eagles fan?
rock fan.
Are you the
Huge.
classic rock? You are. You like the Eagles. Yeah. Who do you like better? Don Henley?
We like Joe Walsh.
Joe
We're
Walsh?
Joe Walsh fans, yes.
You're a Joe Walsh fan?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, simmer down.
I
Don't get my mom all excited, okay?
All right. Well, nobody likes each other anyway, right? They can't even get together for an award.
We were so my husband and I, both have dads that are classic rock, huge fans. I grew up listening to the Eagles with my dad. My father-in-law, he was in a band. So, you know,
your husband would have loved it here.
Oh my
it's all
goodness,
rock and roll.
I know. He's a sweet. I said I'd give him a shout out. Hi, babe, I love you.
Okay.
But he and I decided one thing that we're very humble people. Oh, sorry.
Oh. I guess somebody
just hit the button
cue in Hotel California.
See, it's my ringtone. But so fitting that someone called while we're talking about the Eagles, right? I'm saying, I love I'm telling you. So, but we really are people that believe in having experiences and, you know, living life to the fullest. And so even though the tickets were a little on the pricey side, a couple years ago, the Eagles had come to the Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. We were like, it's too pricey. We're not going to go. When they were coming this time, I said, we will probably never have this opportunity again, right? So we bought the tickets, and it was our Christmas present. We surprised both our fathers. They were just blown away, and it was one of the most magical nights of my life. The Eagles played amazing live, even with Glenn Fry's son, Deacon Fry. Fry. He was absolutely amazing. And it was just an experience we'll never forget with our fathers. And
wait, so the whole family went?
It was our dads and then us, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and they really enjoyed themselves, you know. And now I said, sorry, Christmas is probably never going to be that great again, because how do we top Eagles tickets?
That's exactly
but
right.
you know, when you grow up listening to music I just really appreciate good music. And so growing up and listening to them with my dad and my mom, and just finally seeing them on stage in person. And, you know, it was a big deal because it was probably maybe 3 weeks before we really got shut down. So we were very fortunate. I mean, we were in Madison Square Garden in a packed house, you know, and at Penn Station. But it was just, I tell my husband, we talk about it all the time, it was hands down one of the best concerts we've ever been to.
That's amazing. And you found classic rock later in your life, right?
I mean, I grew up with it, but I really started falling in love with it when I was in college. I went to Rider University for a little while, and I took a history of rock and roll class there. We got to go to the Rock and Roll Museum in New York City. And I just fell in love with it. And I realized that, you know how when you're growing up, you're in the car with your parents and you're like, oh my goodness, what are they listening to? And then here I am, you know, in my early 20s, and I'm like rocking out to music that they used to play.
That's awesome.
I'm just like, you know, but I love the guitar. I grew up playing flute. I played piano. I'm a singer. So I love so many different multiple types of music, but classic rock is definitely high up on my list.
That is awesome. We've gone so far into this podcast without even getting to your platform, because you do so many great things, right?
I have a range wide of interests.
And which is great. So let's now talk about your platform. So I know we've seen pictures. Why don't you tell everybody about your platform? I know the platform is Colitis, right?
Yeah, Crohn's and Colitis,
right?
Yes.
And you showed some pictures on your Instagram account, and I'm sure a lot of people look at that and they feel a little bit more confident if they have any, you know, kind of operations that kind of...
So back in 2018, I started experiencing some severe abdominal pain. And, you know, I didn't really think anything of it at first. It was very light and it would only last a little bit. So come November, this was in the summer. So by November, it was getting worse. So I, you know, was like, let me go to my primary.
But you're not born with that?
No.
You can develop it?
You can develop it. So, I mean, there's so many different things about Crohn's disease, and that's the problem with Crohn's and colitis, and I think a lot of chronic illnesses is they can be very, very difficult to diagnose. Yeah. So at first, you know, the first thing was I really had to advocate for myself. Being a patient who was sick, I had a lot of medications thrown at me that weren't helping me, and I just kind of felt like a lab rat is the best term for it. I was just really frustrated because then things started getting worse. I started really, you know, I would start vomiting with the pain in my stomach, and it was just really terrifying because I was then becoming really scared to eat because I wasn't sure if it was eating, if there was something going on. I was like, is there a tumor? Is it cancer? Like, what's happening? I ended up getting sent for a colonoscopy and endoscopy. The endoscopy was okay. Colonoscopy showed that there was some inflammation in my small intestine. So they said it could be possible Crohn's. They still didn't know that it was my gallbladder. Could you define
Crohn's? I'm struggling really understanding Crohn's.
So Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis are different. Ulcerative colitis is your large intestine. When there's inflammation somewhere in your large intestine, Crohn's disease can be very different for multiple people. But Crohn's disease is typically in your small intestine. So that's where the difference is.
Okay.
Crohn's disease can also affect your esophagus. And it's a chronic illness that can cause other symptoms other than digestive issues.
I see.
But there is a wide range. So you can talk to one Crohn's patient who has symptoms that I've never experienced, and then I have symptoms they've never experienced. So it can be very difficult to diagnose.
How do you get that? Is it developed through like childbirth, or is it?
Really, it's chronic illnesses tend to develop because of a multitude of factors. So it's not one thing. And many people will say, well, is it what I'm eating? I really think that I'm someone who's very sensitive to foods. So this has taught me a very healthy lifestyle. Not that I wasn't healthy before, but foods that I maybe assumed were healthy for me have probably been hurting me a little bit.
What kind of foods?
Just foods that are heavy in gluten. I'm more sensitive to foods. I used to have an egg allergy, so they run in our family. So they do say about 20% of Crohn's patients, have a parent or somebody in their family with Crohn's disease. I do not.
Wow.
So that's why it was a little bit hard to understand what was going on with me. And I finally ended up going to a holistic doctor who found that I had gallstones, that I had a big gallstone that a doctor had missed.
Wow.
So that was frustrating for me because all those months of living in severe pain were gallbladder attacks, and I didn't know that.
Oh my gosh.
So finally, by July of 2019, they said, we'll remove your gallbladder, got it removed. And I had a week where everything was great. I was eating, and I was just really hopeful I was on the road to recovery. And within a week and a half after my surgery, I just went downhill very quickly.
So the gallbladder it wasn't the
So
cause.
the gallbladder was the problem. My pain was going away, but now different symptoms started arising. And so what ended up happening was I would bloat to the point where I looked 6 months pregnant. It was so uncomfortable. The nausea that I experienced was awful. And we thought it's because I had my gallbladder removed. My body is adjusting. I just had this major surgery to get it out. As time went on, around the Eagles concert in February of last year, I started just vomiting, and it was weekly.
Oh
and
my
so
God.
I was down to had lost already like 30 pounds. So I lost at this point now 35 pounds.
Wow.
I was terrified to eat food because I never knew when this was going to occur. I was in the process of meeting with my holistic doctor. I was put through another colonoscopy and endoscopy. Again, it was maybe Crohn's, but just not sure. So my holistic doctor was like, let's cut things out of your diet. So I was gluten-free. I was dairy-free. I was doing all the right things. I wasn't drinking any alcohol. I was drinking water. I would cut out caffeine. I was working out. And what was weird was I'd have a week where I felt great, and then another week where all of a sudden the symptoms came back. So typically with Crohn's, you don't have periods of that. You're sick all the time. And so it was difficult for them to, say that I had Crohn's because I'd have a week where I'd be okay. Everything was fine. But then the following week I would be sick.
That's bizarre, right?
And so finally, by this September, all summer, I met a new gastro, and I really liked her, and she was working really hard with me. We were trying different medications. Some were helping, and then I'd come off the medication. I'd get instantly sick again. And I explained to her, I'm going back to work to teaching. I cannot be throwing up every day. I need to get this under control. And on September 15th, I started virtual teaching. I woke up just not feeling great, and I started vomiting at 9 a.m. I had to turn my camera off. I taught all day, throwing up on and off on the camera. And I remember that night, I just was still vomiting at 5 p.m. And usually when I would throw up, and this is the other thing, it can be really difficult to talk about. And that's one thing that I kind of want to normalize because, IBD is irritable bowel disease. It's inflammation in your guts. And so sometimes a lot of the symptoms you're experiencing are a little difficult to talk about because, they can be a little bit embarrassing for a lot of patients. They don't want to talk about it. And so I remember just laying my head on the toilet, and I was still vomiting at 5 o'clock at night. And I just looked at my husband. I said, I can't do this anymore. Something's really wrong. I couldn't see straight. I was really dizzy. I was so dehydrated. So he ended up taking me to the emergency room. And, we thought, they're just going to give me some liquids. They'll put me on an IV.
Right.
And they did a CAT scan. And they came back and they said, we're taking your wife back for emergency surgery right now.
Wait, how come they didn't find that out for all that time?
So
a CAT scan could have did it.
Well, so originally I did have a CAT scan, and it did show some inflammation. So what they're thinking happened is after my gallbladder surgery, I didn't have another test, but they're thinking that's what sent the area that I did have inflammation in. It kind of went into high gear, and it literally went from 0 to 100.
Do you think your gallbladder had to have been removed after knowing this?
That's the other thing. I'm a very holistic person. person. So I did try to heal it naturally. I was juicing celery on an empty stomach and drinking that. I mean, I was doing
disgusting.
It was not enjoyable.
I know.
So I was doing everything that I possibly could on my own to heal myself. I think that the problem was that by the time we realized it was my gallbladder, I was so sick because I didn't have help that it was, it had to come out because it was so diseased. But then it caused, my Crohn's that was there, that was probably a little bit dormant. It wasn't, that severe to just kind of flare, into uncontrollable.
So you get the CAT scan and they tell your husband you got to go into an emergency room.
The surgeon pulled my husband aside. He said if she waited 1 or 2 more days, she probably would not be here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it was a life-threatening situation because what was happening is my intestines were so inflamed that they would have perforated and they would have, exploded pretty much. And
what caused them to be inflamed? Is that what just the term?
I think it's just, they'll say like a lot of things typically with Crohn's is stress levels. I do a lot of things to manage my stress, but I also am a teacher and I do a lot of things. I'm a mom, I'm a wife.
Yeah.
And so, it can be a lot of, high energy. It can also be just extreme stress levels. It can be your diet. I think that, like I said, this has really taught me what healthy eating is, what clean eating is, and eating foods that will help nourish my body as opposed to just kind of picking up, a bagel for breakfast. And, so I think it's just a lot of different factors that contributed to the inflammation, but I think the stress of the gallbladder surgery absolutely sent it into.
So what kind of foods people might now have Crohn's and not even know it.
Right,
so what kind of foods would you recommend?
Typically they recommend a diet that is gluten-free.
Mm-hmm.
But I tolerate, so I got tested for celiac disease and there was nothing in my test that said you cannot do gluten. And anytime I eat gluten, it doesn't bother me, but now I've just learned that it's almost like a treat for me now. Bread is a treat. It's not something that's in a part of my diet every day. You do have to be careful with high fiber foods because high fiber foods, which are healthy foods like vegetables and fruits, can be really difficult for a Crohn's patient to digest.
Wow.
So sometimes, you'll read patients and they'll say, well, I get judged because they might see me eating a burger, but it's easier for my body to digest a burger than it is to eat broccoli.
Understood. That makes total sense.
So, you have when I was sent home from the hospital, I was on a very, very low fiber diet, and it was hard for me because it was a lot of stuff I don't normally eat. I'm pretty much dairy free. Cheese is now a treat now. So things that I just know might cause me digestive upset, I just do them in moderation. And when I do them in moderation, nothing happens. I'm fine. I feel fine. But now I'm just very cautious of what I'm putting into my body.
So when they cut you open, what do they take out? Your small intestines?
Took out I'm very blessed because many Crohn's patients end up having to get a stoma formed where your intestines come out of your skin and they have an ileostomy. So I was very fortunate. They ended up not having to give me that. They took out the infected part of my small intestine. They did have to take me back in exactly 1 week later and open my belly up again because they were worried there was a leak. We were very lucky there was not a leak. I was just so malnourished. I had lost so much weight that there was a lot of trapped air in my chest, and they were concerned that was a leak from my intestines. My amazing surgeon, Dr. Shaban at Virtue of Voorhees, he came in, and I just remember that Tuesday, it was like so weird because I went in at 1 a.m. for my first surgery, and exactly 1 week later at 1 a.m. we went back in. And I remember him coming in and he put his hand on my hand and he just said, I just could tell he really genuinely wanted me to be okay, as opposed to some doctors I've met where I'm just another patient. Dr. Shaban really made me feel amazing. He was like, I'm so sorry that I have to do this, but I need to know that you're okay. And he even apologized. He goes, and I'm sorry because I'm the surgeon, right? And so I feel like maybe something I did, I have to go back in and check. And I just remember giving him a fist bump. And I said, is this my 1 week anniversary? You're going to take me back, trying to make light. And he was like, you're fist bumping me and you're getting ready for surgery, because that's just the type of person I am. I mean, I knew I was in good hands. I was so thankful to wake up the next morning.
Right.
I didn't have to have an ileostomy. And I am in surgical remission, which is great. However, I was diagnosed with some PTSD leaving the hospital because I was so sick for 2 years and then went through a very traumatic experience being in the hospital for 13 days, having 2 major surgeries. I had a nasogastric tube that went up my nose.
Oh my gosh.
and then having 2 surgeries, it was like I was making progress, and the nasogastric tube came out, the catheter came out, I was walking, and I started eating foods, and then it all got ripped away, and it was just like deja vu, because then I woke up again after my second surgery, nasogastric tubes back in, catheters back in. But I'm so thankful for this experience because I'm healthy. If I didn't have that surgery, I wouldn't be sitting here I don't even know if I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Really?
I mean,
Yeah.
he made it very clear that if I did not come to that hospital, it probably would have ended my life.
So explain to me why, when you go through the surgery, I saw those pictures.
Yeah.
There's not a clean way to do that, or is it?
I know.
And I hate to say it that way.
It's so I joke with my husband because I have the pageant coming up, and I was a cheerleader and gymnast for
I know,
a very
I
long
read that,
time.
yeah.
So I had just like rock hard abs growing up, and then obviously I had my daughter, and you get married and you get busy and life just happens, and so I had just kind of gotten back to a size I felt comfortable with, that I just, when you're the same size your whole life, and then if you put on some extra pounds, you just feel it. Not that I thought it was, not a good look on me. I just felt uncomfortable in my own skin. And, it definitely isn't the most complimentary cut I think that they could have done. My husband jokes, he's like, we should go back, and I said, no, I don't want to get cut open for a third time. I'm good, But I think a lot of Crohn's patients I see, they go more around the belly button.
Well,
Mine was like through my belly button.
But yeah, and the reason why I ask is you can get heart surgery through your legs.
Yeah. So unfortunately, my intestines were so diseased, I had to have open. There was no question about it. So there was no way. Like my gallbladder was laparoscopic, so they were able to go in laparoscopically move that. However, with my intestines, they just really needed to get in there and make sure, that they were getting out everything and taking care of everything. So that required, open surgery, unfortunately.
I see. So the platform that you're running now, is it a charitable thing? Do you raise money? Is it a benefit? How does that work?
So I recently became involved with the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. So obviously they are very big in just advocating for IBD patients, Crohn's and colitis awareness. They educate, they provide resources for all of the patients. So one thing that I wanted to do was I created a team. It's for Philadelphia because now things are, restrictions are kind of being eased a little bit. So on June 5th, there is going to be a walk. Our team is called Peace, Love, and a Cure, and I'm making it a goal to raise $1,500 for our team, and I'll have family and friends. I've also connected with a lot of Crohn's patients in the area that are going to join my team, and we're going to walk for that. I also started IBD Heroes.
I saw that. That's a great Instagram page too. Because you have people who would probably be so embarrassed and like, no, I'm showing this. And that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's my big goal is like, I think, and I do this with my students too. I think, like I grew up with divorced parents. I mean, we're all fabulous. We all love each other, a very loving family. But, I also came from some tough situations. And so I am a big believer in not hiding the stories we go through because it's always been very helpful when you meet someone, right, who has gone through something that you can relate to. It just instantly, I was so isolated, even with my amazing family and my husband, I fell in love with him all over again.
Yeah, I read that too.
He never once complained. If I was on the couch, he was just so amazing. So
you like chicken noodle soup or something like that?
Yes, he would get me chicken noodle soup, and I could only drink the broth. He would go get me a Gatorade. He would take care of our daughter. Like and I know these are things people say, oh, well, husbands, but there are husbands out there who might not have reacted that way, right? True. When you have someone, they truly said in sickness and in health, he stuck by me in the sickness. He didn't leave me. I, had a lot of embarrassing things happen to me. I was very vulnerable in those moments when he saw me at my, laying on the bathroom floor, with my cheeks sunken in, and he still, just supported me. So I'm very thankful for him. And I just want to show people that I was so sick for 2 years. I remember thinking my last birthday, I don't know if I'm going to make it to my 34th birthday at the time, and so I just want to show anyone going through anything, a chronic illness, that you can overcome it. And yeah, it's probably going to be a bumpy road, but if you work hard and if you believe that you can do it, it will happen. It just might take some time, but look at all the amazing things that can happen. That's right. After you go through it,
Yep. Life happens for you.
It does,
I'm a big,
it
happens for you.
I'm a big believer, I am a religious person. I grew up going to a Christian school, and, I knew God was putting me through this for a reason. And every time I tried to talk to him in my head about it, I'd say, I'm trying to figure out, but I trusted in him that he would.
What do you think the reason was?
I truly think that, it's funny because Mary we've developed a relationship because we've met through the pageant system, and she kind of kept reaching out to me, do you want to compete? And I just said, it's not my time right now. I just competed last year. I was sick. I really just want to make sure that my mental health is where it needs to be and my physical health is where it needs to be. I'm virtual teaching right now. Things are crazy. And she just messaged me on a Saturday, and it was like a light bulb went off, and I said, I need to do this. This is a time for me to, really use my voice, whether I win the crown or not, right? Of course, we're all hopeful. When we go in,
of course, right.
We want to win that crown. That's our goal. But I just feel like she helped, and Mary, I have to thank you for this, and Kim, they just kind of gave me like that little, sometimes you need like that little kick right behind you, to not that I was feeling sorry or depressed for myself. I was just content. Mm-hmm. But it's like they brought the spark back in me because I didn't feel very pretty after the surgery. Mm-hmm. I lost all this weight. Any muscle tone that I had was gone. And I just feel like God put me through this for a few reasons. He put me through this to heal me. If I didn't go through it, I wouldn't be healed. Mm-hmm. He put me through this, I think, to share my story. And I think, to just give me a platform of, an area where I can truly speak about, because this is something I lived for 2 years, and I lived it. And it was so isolating that I just want every other IBD patient out there to know, or anyone battling a chronic illness, that you don't have to be alone. And, please talk to somebody, because I didn't really talk to people about it. I talked to my family knew, my best friend knew. Other than that, when I went to work, I'd put on a very happy face. There were so many pictures on Instagram. I think that's another thing I'm trying to, shed light on, is that we live in such a big social media crazed world right now, right? It's true. And it's so sad to me when I see, and it's great, I see all these bloggers, they have like these beautiful, perfect houses. Every picture, their kids are dressed perfectly, their husbands and them. And I kind of want to shake things up a bit. And so one time I posted a picture of my kitchen. I'm not happy with my kitchen. I can't stand it. I don't like the countertop. I don't like the backsplash. And I almost didn't post it because I was so just like thinking to myself, oh my goodness, if I post this, the first thing people are going to notice, right, is like the ugly kitchen background. And I said, no, I'm posting this because at the time, Marin and I were making cookies, or a gingerbread house. And I kind of put that in my post. I just want people to realize, like, just because you're smiling in one picture you post on social media does not define who they are.
That's exactly right.
I had so many pictures I posted where I was smiling and, I was losing weight. So people told me I looked fabulous, even though the way I was losing weight was horrendous. I was so sick. And so I think that's another thing I'm trying to shed light on, is that you can look at someone, but they can be struggling so bad.
That's exactly right.
And, mental health right now, especially through this pandemic, is also something. Yeah. So I just feel like there's so much I can tie into what I went through. And I'm so thankful for this second chance at life. I wake up every day with just the most positive mindset.
That's awesome. That is just great.
Yeah, I mean, when you're that sick and you're kind of, I don't want to say knocking on death's door, but I somewhat was, the things that you could get annoyed with or maybe complain about just don't matter to me anymore. Right. And I just want to live every day to the fullest now and share my story and get everything that I can out there, just so I can help and encourage others.
And a great platform to do that.
Thank you. Yes.
Absolutely. That's great. So what I like to do at the very end of the podcast is I tell people this little story, and I kind of lead it into a question to you. The story goes, I'm a big old school Mustang. Your parents might like the old Ford Mustangs.
I love Mustangs.
I have a 66 Mustang, so I'm parking it in my garage, and my dad's a Ford guy too, and as the car was completely restored, the garage door was coming down. I go, Dad, I love this car so much. And he looked at me and he said he was just at church. He saw his pastor say something like, everything that we own in life will one day be owned by somebody else. Everything, your house, your car. And I couldn't fathom that at the time. And he said, well, what are you here for? And I really didn't understand what that meant. But then when I got older, I understood what that meant. But let's put your last 2 years behind you. Why do you think that you're here? What's the mark you want to leave? Let's not talk about Crohn's. Let's talk about Sarah May Campbell.
One of my girlfriends just said the sweetest thing on my Instagram. She said, I can't tell what shines brighter, your soul or your smile.
Wow.
And that just lit my face up so much, because that's really, at the end of the day, what I want to be. When people meet me and when they remember me, I want them to remember me as a kind person who wanted to spread kindness and joy and just bring other people happiness. And I do think that's a big reason why I'm here. I'm someone who's always trying to encourage others. I teach, I've coached gymnastics, little kids in gymnastics. I really, really love to teach and spread awareness for any type of cause that I can and volunteer my time.
Legacy, right? It's all
That's-
about that
yes,
legacy. That's
legacy.
great. Well, I want to honor you for so many things.
Aw,
I mean,
thank you.
you're teaching and then just helping Mary and her cause and then your cause. It's like you're a constant giver. So I want to
thank
honor
you.
you for that.
Aw,
You're an
thank you.
awesome, amazing person, by
Thank
the way.
you.
And
Thank you
April
so
10th,
much.
and April 10th.
Yes,
that's right.
Saturday,
I'll be
April
there.
10th. Yay,
Yes.
I'm so excited. Oh my goodness, I'm
And,
counting down the days.
Yes. So I guess we'll be seeing you soon. And I want to thank you again, once again,
Thank you
for
so
this
much.
amazing podcast. And you got a backpack and a book.
Yes, thank you. I'm
And you're
so
leaving
excited.
with gifts,
Thank
ladies
you.
and
Oh my
ladies and
goodness.
gentlemen, Miss Sarah May Campbell. Thank you very
everybody.
much.